There's so many different directions that Rob and Nicholas could have taken Goosebumps, but it strikes that really perfect balance between being nostalgic while also introducing something that's so fresh, new, and exciting. At what point during the filming process did you realize that you were all creating something so unique?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think first off, like, we gotta give Rob and, like, Nick and the whole executive and writing team, like, their flowers because, like, it was such an amazing show and it was such a great, like, world and environment to play in. I think as for when we first, or at least me specifically, like, figured out, like, this was something really special was really in the auditioning process. I initially auditioned just only seeing the scenes that I had to come prepared with that day, and it wasn't
Mm,
until I was, like, in the mix and it was like, we're going to do a chem test with like other actors like in a couple weeks. I got to read an early draft of the pilots, and it was so funny, like very different than like the like original pilot, like what it ended up turning into, but like same tonally, and it was like so cool to be able to watch like or just read something and almost like see it in my head of like all these stories that I had like grown up like loving, but it was as if they aged with me. So it felt like
mm,
it was like still my voice. Like it felt like the same way you read it as a kid of like you're
yeah.
uncovering things and it feels like you're really like communicating with like a friend that had these experiences. It like was so cool. And it was also like, one of those things that is always fun as an actor to like see a project where you're like, I really hope I get this. But if I don't, I know I'll be a fan of the series.
Mm.
So it was kind of like added pressure of like, if I don't get this, next Halloween's gonna suck because this will be out and I will have to be watching it.
Well, thankfully, you landed the role. The creative team gave you all the freedom to make these characters your own. What did you bring to James that wasn't initially on that page? And how did that trust allow you to take agency over his journey throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, that was something that was like with the core five of us, they told us that all of us had improv in our auditions and in our
Mm,
chemistry. We all threw different things at our scene partners that like weren't initially on the page. And so from the start, they really wanted us to, bring ourselves to the roles and really have it be a collaborative effort. And I mean, like the scripts and everything, like I said, just from the initial pilot, were so good that it was so easy to like fall in love with this world, understand what's going on, and really want to be a part of it even more by being like, what if we did this? What if we did that? Like, and also just like a lot of like the dialogue heavy scenes that we did, like the different directors like Aaron O'Malley or like Rob Letterman would be like, okay, we got the shot. Now just like play and just have fun. And it was so cool to see that like a lot of those fun runs where it's like we were just like improvising and like really like being like with each other and like with
mm.
our friends are really grounded in like whatever experience our characters were going through. That ended up making it on the show. So it was just this really cool moment where it's like, oh my God, like, we really feel so a part of the series, even more so than if we just, read what was on the page. We really got to be there with everyone else.
You're all destined to play these characters, and there's such
Yeah.
a great chemistry that comes off the screen between all of you. And you really do believe you all are friends, particularly with you and Zach. You didn't have a lot of time to build that bond, but you really do think that they're best friends. How are you able to do that so quickly?
Yeah, I love this question because it's like, first of all, I love all of these people so much, and there has not been a week that's gone by that we all hadn't contact with each other, either through like FaceTime or texting. Like we all are genuinely friends, and that was like feedback we kept getting through the duration of filming from all the older actors. They were like, "You guys seem like you all really like love and like
Yeah.
know each other," just because like we did and we spent so much time together and really clicked. And like I wish like I had some like really cool like petty actor answer to be like, as an actor, with other actors, we do this thing. Like, like genuinely, it's mad props to like Disney casting for just
Mm,
giving us friends. Like that is just like literally what happened. Like the first scene I ever did with Zach on or off camera was on camera in the pilot, in the scene where James sees Sam for the first time. That was the first scene I ever did with Zach. And like
mm.
half of that scene was just improv. So we were just like immediately like clicking and there was nothing that like we did or didn't do. It was just like the way the cards like played out. So it's just like thank you to Disney and Sony and everyone for giving me friends. Like that's just what happened.
And that comes off on screen. And you really got to show off your range and your versatility in episode 301, where you're playing all these different doppelgangers of your character, which you did so brilliantly. As an actor, what was that process like creating this space for yourself to bring these different iterations to life? And how did that episode in particular push you as a storyteller?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Yeah, it was, I mean, so fun. I grew up watching Doctor Who, which is also
Mm,
streaming on Disney Plus. And my entrance into that series was through Matt Smith's portrayal of the Doctor. And so when I first got like the initial script for episode 3, I was just like so gagged because I'm like, this is my Matt Smith moment. This is my Doctor Who moment. Like it was just like I'm on green screens. I've got 12 different stunt doubles. I'm, acting with like tennis balls and I'm like up on wires. There was like a lot of like, physical like aspects that went into creating that episode and making it as dynamic and action packed as it was. So like just starting from there, it was like this is such a wish fulfilled, character I get to play. And on top of that, it's a character that brings a lot of levity and has a lot of
yeah.
depth. That levity is coming from such a specific, lens and really important lens. So I think for me, for creating all the different, places that James, had to go. It really started with grounding myself in the reality of what James was going through. We see him leave the Biddle house and he, gets the guy, he's got the movie moment kiss, and all these other versions of him don't have that. They're trapped and they
Mm.
really have to sit in a lot of this like longing and deep envy. And so for me, it was really sitting in like the reality of what this kid, what James would go through, not having that movie moment picture perfect ending, and then seeing how he could spiral out of control and like how he could turn on himself and on his friends. Yeah.
Yeah, you're brilliant in that. And a perfect segue to this next question, but I think more so than any other character, James brings a lot of levity to this series, and everything is so high stakes. How fun is it for you to play in that space? And has comedy always just come naturally to you?
Yeah, I mean, it was so awesome to like be able to just like play, and like this like tonally was so my sense of humor. Like I said from the start,
Mm,
like reading the initial scripts, it was like this was so funny, and like obviously because it's from the minds of like Nick Stoller and like Rob Letterman and everyone, so it's like that is like so my bag and my sense of humor. So to be able to like play and grow off of that, like initial base was just like so easy and effortless, and being able to work with everyone else. I mean, like I said, everyone's so good at improv. So it was just really such a fun and like perfect environment to understand the story and then like run with it.
and, this industry has made really slow progress in terms of representation. And so often when you're playing a queer character, the story is centered around their trauma or their coming out experience. It becomes such a vocal point of their identity. But with characters like James and series like Goosebumps, we're seeing a much needed step forward in terms of diversity and inclusion, where these characters can exist in the world and their sexuality is part of who they are, but not their entire storyline. What has it meant for you to play such an integral role in that evolution, especially on a network like Disney Plus, which reaches so many young audiences?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the joys of playing James. Like, he struggles and he's gay, but his struggles are not exclusive to gay people.
Yeah.
And, I think it's really important to have stories talking about the adolescence of identity and really teaching people what it means to, be queer. But I think it's also important to have stories like Goosebumps, where it's like, this is someone that is struggling with something that's universal, like regardless of your sexual
Mhm.
orientation, you can see yourself in James. Everyone has struggled with confidence, with not being sure if they can be themselves, especially in high school. So to be able to play a role that allows people to laugh with someone that maybe they wouldn't necessarily, be allowed to delve into their story in their household, I think it's super important, and it's only going to do more good in the world having someone relate to a queer person.
Mhm. Yeah, continue blazing that trail. Episode 110 is the perfect bookend to this season while also leaving a lot of doors open for potential more stories to be told. What was your reaction when you read that final script? And how do you think Margot's decision at the end will impact James moving forward?
Oh yeah, I love the ending. I thought it was so perfect. There's so many different like stories that we can like explore in the future. There's so many questions that haven't been answered. Like, everything started because Kandu said these magic words and his name became his purpose. So like, is Margot's name not gonna be Kandu? Is Isaiah's name gonna be Kandu? Why did Brat see it in the other room? Like,
Mm,
also we saw Kandu in his prime. Presumably we just saw him get dragged down to the pits of hell. There's just a lot of questions, and I really want those answers. So I think James is someone that like friends are so important to him because his friends are his family. Like as we've seen, he doesn't have a really secure home life, and he doesn't,
mm,
he's really struggled with a really secure sense of self. And so to be able to fight like for his friends and with his friends and then potentially lose them. I see everything that happened at the end of episode one really fueling James to, take on more of a leadership role in the second season.
Final question for you. If we're lucky enough to get a second season, is there an aspect of James that you would like to dive further into?
Yeah, I was asked this before, and I initially said this as a joke, but like I so sincerely mean it. Like I want to see James on the football field. I think that there's like a clear shift in Isaiah where like football is not important.
Yeah.
And he ends opening his heart, he's talking to girls, he's doing whatever he wants. I think it'd be so funny to like have the twist where it's like, okay, but James, that is his dream, and like him be on the field. Also, he's been the mascot for so long. He's been fighting these dupes. He's been fighting for his town and like his city, technically the whole world because of all this evil. So it's like I want to see him fight for his school and like be on the football field. I think it's senior year, and that would just be like hilarious and such a twist, and also be able to
Mm.
kind of see James step into himself more and like assert himself more instead of really taking the like sidekick role, like him really be like, well, this is actually the direction I want to go and like be able to take on more of like a leadership standpoint.